G'day everybody, it's Danny here and welcome to another episode of Botany Danny, a place where we talk about all things plants and nature in the land down under. In this video we're going to be looking at 5 reasons why your plants might be turning yellow and some of the solutions we can use to try and rectify them. Let's get going! I love growing indoor plants. In fact, I have a wide range of diverse plants in my house. However, I'm no expert when it comes to trying to look after, care and maintain the livelihood of some of these plants in my home. Some of them are more sensitive than others, and some I need to try and find the right spot which has the right amount of light and moisture conditions in order for it to thrive. Some plants thrive better near the window, some thrive better in the bathroom or in the laundry, and some, like these, just thrive everywhere. And so when I see leaves appear that are a lot more yellow than normal, I tend to get a little bit concerned. It comes to examining your plants and trying to decide what is actually causing the leaves in your plant to turn yellow. I like to look firstly at the location of where the yellowing starts to occur. Does it occur on the tips? Does it occur on the edge of the leaf? Or does it occur in the center of the leaf? This is a prime indicator of whether it's a water issue, whether it's related to some sort of fungal disease, or maybe a lighting issue. Now, when we're little kids, we're often told 2 things. Plants need light and water. But what we aren't told is that some plants like a lot of water and some plants don't like that much water at all. If it's a succulent style plant, it's only going to want a very limited amount of water that you're going to add every now and then. Where it's an aquatic or rainforest plant, those plants are going to be water lovers. They're going to be drinking up as much water as possible. Which brings me to my first tip. Overwatering a plant can actually cause some of the leaves on your plant to turn yellow, especially when there's too much water sitting in your pot and it's not draining properly. Overwatering your plants can sometimes actually drown out the plants and stop nutrients from being transferred from the soil into the leaves, simply because the leaves are already full of water. Too much water in an undrained pot could lead to root rot and damage to some of those sensitive cells that are in a plant. Because roots are really porous in a plant and they absorb water so readily, having too much water can actually destroy the cells and overbloat them. All of this does come down to what sort of plant is it. If it's an aquatic plant like the ones I have in my fish tank, which are water lovers, they're going to love a heap of water and they're going to thrive no matter how much water they've got at their root base. But if you were to overwater a succulent, say like this one, what happens is that the succulent starts to drown, starts turning brown, and starts dying up because the capacity of the plant to hold that much water becomes so overbloated. So knowing the species of plant that you're watering, how much water they actually like, is really crucial to making sure that your plants are happy. On the other side of the leaf, not watering your plants enough can also lead to dehydration, which means if there's not enough water in the base of your pot, then that plant isn't going to be able to absorb all the nutrients from the soil into the leaves in order to continue the photosynthesis process. So having the right amount of water in your pot is really crucial for maintaining the right balance. Additionally, if there's not enough water and your pot is placed in a really hot position, your plant is going to really dry out very quickly. The brown leaves could be a sign of sunburn and long-term plant dehydration. This cordyline plant is one that I've inherited from my mum's house when she was cleaning up her garden. It actually was really struggling. In fact, a lot of the leaves looked like this where they were dry and brown, but over time trying to find the right position and watering it properly, I've noticed that this plant has actually begun to sprung back, and you can see over here there's even a new green little sprout coming from the stem, meaning that this plant has definitely solidified its roots and coming back to life. So if you want to know whether your pot has got too much water or not enough water in it, it's best to do the finger test, and that's where you place your finger just beneath the surface of the topsoil and feel to see if it's wet. If it's really dry, it means you need to add a little bit more water. If it's too wet, you'll need to maybe repot the plant and put it somewhere where the soil water level is a little bit more balanced. It'll also be important to make sure that your pots have holes in them and adequate drainage is available, meaning that the water that you pour into the pot can easily be drained out as well, meaning that the roots aren't just sitting in a bucket full of water. If you're looking at your plant and wondering why the tips of the leaves are turning from a yellow to a brown color, it's most likely because you've used too much tap water. There are chemicals such as fluoride in tap water which aren't very compatible with plants. Plants are very adaptable. They'll try and expel that fluoride through the tips of their leaves and try and allow it to transpire into the air, thereby giving this kind of brown edging color that you see here. What I often water my plants with is not tap water, but using aquarium tank water that's full of nutrients that are created by the fish here. I'll often take water from my fish pond, which is full of rich nutrients. Without the nasty chemicals, of course. Or if your only source of water is tap water, then what I tend to do is have a bucket where I have the water sitting for a couple of days before I scoop out the water and use it. Another reason that your leaves might be turning brown is the fact that the soil pH might be off. It could be really chemical heavy and the plant is actually struggling to get the right nutrients or the right balance of nutrients into its leaves. Taking soil from a part of your garden where you know other plants have thrived and grown and are lush and green is probably a good place to get that soil from if you're planting pots in your house. If you don't have access to garden soil, then going to your nearest plant shop or hardware store and finding nutrient-rich soil that has been tested is probably a good place to start. It's also important to do like pH testing if you really want to go that step further to diagnose whether the pH balance is actually responsible for the yellowing of your leaves. Then that's something you could actually try and do. But just simply having that knowledge of where the soil has come from, whether you've kind of topped up the soil or changed the chemical of the soil recently, is something that's going to help you identify what's causing the yellowing. When it comes to picking soil for my plants, I like to use something that's very naturally based, something that has a nice balance of natural microorganisms within the soil itself. Often indicators of good soil is when you see little earthworms inside there, which indicate that the soil is actually quite rich and there's plenty of food inside for the plants. Another reason why the leaves on your plants might be turning this brown color is probably because the plant is self-sacrificing these leaves to develop new leaves that are further and higher up the plant. By getting rid of these older leaves which are less efficient and less able to capture important sunlight, and developing newer leaves at the top means that those plants are able to become a lot more adaptive, a lot more efficient, and a lot more productive. A good sign of indoor plant health is when you see new leaves starting to separate and unfurl right before your very eyes. This is showing you that the plant is trying to adapt to the light conditions in your house and in the position that it's in, as well as showing you that it's nice and healthy. Some plants suffer from diseases, and these are pretty indicative when you see spots on the plants that are kind of uneven, as well as a plant that's dropping a lot of its leaves unexpectedly. I tend to try and prune the plant and get rid of all the diseased leaves, as well as change the soil and plant the plant in a new pot with fresh soil and one that it can acclimatize itself to. If you can kind of trace the source of the disease, then it's important that you can investigate online to see if there's any treatments for it. But I like to try and give the plant a fresh start. It might be just pruning everything off and starting from scratch and trying to promote new sprouting from the edge of the plant. And the new sprouts often are an indicator that the plant is fighting back. Thank you for joining me for this plant video. Now, I just want to put it out there, I'm no expert at plants. I love looking after plants, and a lot of the things that I've shared with you today are things that I've experienced firsthand, and through experimentation and testing and seeing what I can observe through the scientific method. These are ways that I've kind of learned how to look after plants. Yes, there's a plethora of information that you can access online to try and help you narrow down what you think is causing your plants to be sad. And I know I love a world where plants are thriving, plants are green, and I just hope that this video has helped you out there to just gain some clarity on what could be happening with a plant that's in your home. Thank you once again for joining me for Botany Danny. If you really liked what you've seen so far, then definitely hit the subscribe and like button and check out some of my other videos on this channel. This is Danny signing out. I hope your next planting experience is a green one. Goodbye.